Well, hello all you wonderful people out there in YouTube land, and welcome to the Texas Special YouTube channel. For this week's O-Gauge product review, we're going to take a look at this Lionel Dupont Motorsports O-27 VAT car. Now, this is an O-27 type freight car, so this is more what you would find in your traditional Lionel starter train set. This is not a standard O car or a true to scale, O scale freight car. And of course, as you can tell, this is a fantasy scheme. Dupont Motorsports doesn't have any trains, sadly, but still a cool car nonetheless. So now that we have covered what it is and what it isn't, let's go a little further into what it is. This is, as I said, an O-27 gauge freight car, so that means this car is capable of navigating track curvature as tight as O-27. For any beginners in the audience, what that means is O-gauge track, O-gauge 3-rail track with a diameter rather than radius of 27 inches across, which is essentially the tightest curvature you're going to get in O-gauge track. See these little grab irons here along the side of the car. You can see the lattice work along the side of the car. You got some rivet detailing. The car body itself, the main frame of the car body, is molded in a reddish orange plastic color. You've got these cast on grab irons here, cast on stirrup steps on each corner of the car, and a cast on full height ladder here. Here you have the built by Lionel in 2006. This was, if you couldn't tell or didn't know, part of their NASCAR lineup. This car does feature operating magnetic knuckle couplers. Looking at the trucks, you have 100-ton roller bearing trucks. Of course, obviously, the roller bearing journal caps do not rotate. It's all one solid piece. The wheels are metal. Looking at the underside of this car, you get the standard O-27 fare, just a blank slate. There is no detailing on the underside of this car. This underframe serves literally only to keep the car together. And when I say keep the car together, I mean something for the body itself to mount to and for the trucks to mount to. That is it. You can see the magnetic thumbtacks here, which allows these couplers to be operated with a Lionel magnetic uncoupling track section or similar product. Or you see this little tab here on the side of the car coupler. If you push down on that, you can manually open the knuckle, and this right here is in the same spot on the opposite end of the car. Coming around to look at the B end of the car, you see a separately applied metal handbrake wheel here, a little brakeman's perch here, the rod and brake chain assembly here, another full height ladder, some more lattice work with rivet detailing or bolt detailing, however you want to put it. You see some cast on grab irons here and here. I'm not sure if that's meant to imply a crossover walkway or not. You see some locking tabs here that keep the body of the car locked onto the underframe of the car, and if we turn around to the A end of the car, which is essentially identical with two exceptions: no handbrake detailing whatsoever, and you see this little small Phillips head screw that is what keeps the car locked onto the underframe. And finally, looking at the top of the car, looking at the roof of the car, we see these cool little hatches all along the top of the car, which correspond to the location of each individual vat, to simulate a point of access for loading, and one would assume unloading these vats were this a real car? Now, I know that VAT cars did exist at one point in time. They are a 19th century type of rolling stock. And I'm sure early 20th century, but they weren't a real big thing with the railroads in the 20th century. By that point, they had by and large switched to the use of tank cars almost universally, if not universally, for the more efficient transport of liquid cargoes. Continuing on, you can see some nice wood plank detailing along the roof of the car with bolts in the appropriate spots, 2 at the end of each plank. So very nicely done. A relatively well detailed car for what it is, an O-27 train set type car, a traditional O-27 type car. You know, other than if this was not a NASCAR offering, this wouldn't really be in my wheelhouse as far as something I'd be interested in. But those people that know me out here in the real world, not in YouTube land, well, a few of you in YouTube land, but the majority of people out there that know me in the real world know that I am a major NASCAR fan. So anytime I can get my hands on a NASCAR item at a reasonable price, I'm generally not going to pass it up. And this is certainly not an exception. So I have covered just about everything that I can think of worth covering on this car. I have a very fitting locomotive attached to the head end of this test train that I've assembled, as well as a very fitting caboose to match it. And we're going to run this guy around the railroad on the modular O-gauge layout at the Texla Model Railroad Club. So let's get the railroad fired up.